Week 3 has concluded in the NFL, and today we will be discussing what happened last week. Sorry for the brief few days we had to take off. I needed a few personal days, just to refuel. Jake is absolutely mad at me, but I'll get over it.
Stephen A's never taken a day off.
That's very true. But I'll never be Stephen A. You can be Stephen A, but I won't be. You want to just get into what happened last week?
Yeah, sure. We did a recap for Thursday night, did we?
We did a recap for Thursday night, and we actually did a recap for Washington and Buffalo too. So if you missed either of those and you want to hear us talk about either of those two games, you can look back and see them. But now, with that all out of the way, the first game that I'm ready to discuss is the Chargers playing at the Chiefs. So give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah. I mean this literally. I'm not saying this as a nickname, but Daddy Mahomes has finally lost a game. Or lost 2 games now. He's starting that downwards spin. We said that in the offseason that fatherhood would catch up to him. And I mean, you would think, at least what we said was, maybe he's not going to be taking as many risks now because he's a father and all that. He's taking way more risks now that he's a father. He's chucking balls all over the place. Which, I mean, I can't say that that's not Mahomes because that is how he plays. He just deals. But it wasn't like Mahomes because these balls were not connecting at all with their targets.
Yeah, no, that's kind of a big takeaway for me for this one. But also, that's just basically been Mahomes' play throughout the season. I caught the tail end of this game in that 1 o'clock window. This one was kind of going a little long, and I got to see the end of it, really. And what I actually have to say is that even though the Chargers have a new coach, they did everything they possibly could after. I tuned in right after Kansas City turned the ball over the final time for then the Chargers to score a touchdown, end up winning the game, whatever. They did everything they possibly could on that final drive they had the ball to try to still lose this game. I'm just telling you that. It was an absolute mess what they did.
Yeah,
Nobody will say that because they ended up winning the game, but they're lucky that they've been playing a Chiefs team that's very turnover prone recently, because if they didn't, with how they played at the end of that game in terms of how they coached and made decisions, didn't like it at all, and really don't know if the score would have been that close if they didn't get all those turnovers. With that being said, Justin Herbert and the offense really look great. Keenan Allen's getting open. Mike Williams is doing his best, I don't know, I was going to say like impersonation of himself, but he's like finding the best version of himself is what I kind of mean. Just because, we've talked about this in the past of Mike Williams being a guy who's really like he's going to win a jump ball, but it's like you don't feel like you want to throw him the ball every down because he doesn't get as open as somebody like Keenan Allen does. And it's just weird that he's been able to at least create a little bit more separation while still having that jump ball ability. So he's been looking really good. And as we said, I think basically all offseason, I mean, me more so than you, it's just that Justin Herbert is the king of this team, and he goes as far as they will go as far as he will take them. But it sure does help to get all those Mahomes turnovers and the Chiefs just not playing to the best of their ability.
Yeah, Asante Samuel, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm waiting for it. He looked like it in that game.
Yeah, that's like the one bright spot of going to FSU games. They get to show highlights of pros from FSU, and we get to see an Asante Samuel highlight every week.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the next game. We got Cardinals Jaguars, and boy, this one was, I'd say, a lot more interesting than I thought it would have been.
Yeah. My one thing that I want to say real quick before we actually start talking about the game is, why can't Jamal Agnew be on a good team? Like any team that had that has his explosiveness as a return man, also just in the offense in general, awesome to see. Like, could you imagine if an actual good team had a missed field goal brought back 109 yards for a touchdown? We'd be talking about that for the whole week. But it's the Jags, and it was just, oh, that's cool. Oh, Gus Johnson had a pretty cool call on that, and then we just moved on because it's the Jags.
Well, I mean, they follow it up by having Trevor Lawrence get a flea flicker where he then lofts it up 15 yards down the field to throw a pick six to Byron Murphy. And it's just like, geez, we really took all the momentum out of our sails really quick. MVP, Kyler Murray, still relatively on track. Didn't have a crazy game this week, but liked what I saw still. Think he probably just needed a little more help on the offensive side of the ball this week. But they still, the team as a whole put up 31 points. So, I mean, can't be too upset with that. And, I mean, I guess this game really wasn't that shocking, minus the fact that they do have a guy like Jamal Agnew that can help them keep games close that shouldn't be close because they can add 109-yard kick returns on the last play.
2 weeks in a row,
I know.
he's had return touchdowns. It's like the Jags, their like point differential. I don't know how this math's gonna work out or if this will even make sense, but like it's going to be helped along so much just off of like kick and punt return touchdowns because of Jamal Agnew.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I really don't think there's much else to say about this game, though. It kind of went how we thought it would go. Chicago at Cleveland. Oh boy, do you want to rip into anybody here?
Yeah, this is another game that I made same as the Cardinals Jags. Well, this went how we kind of thought it would go. I mean, I deep down in my heart wanted Justin Fields to just light up this Browns defense. But jeez, Matt Nagy, gotta love him. The Browns defense was just suffocating Justin Fields. The amount of protection, like I went back and I watched this game. I did not see like an extra blocker in there for Justin Fields for like at least until like midway through the third quarter, I'd say. I didn't see an extra blocker for him.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm still looking at this in terms of, I'm not going to say that Matt Nagy's a great play caller, but I already sent a message to you talking about this that said, yeah, if you're going to hold the ball for 5 whole seconds when you drop back to pass, don't be surprised to have Myles Garrett, eventually get to you after all that time, because he was not happy getting to his ladder reads in his progression. And I said that I don't think Matt Nagy's a great play caller, but with that being said, I don't think Justin Fields holding the ball for 5 seconds is necessarily anything that you can put on, that you can say is okay no matter what offensive scheme you're running. I think if you have a coaching job in the NFL, especially from an offensive perspective, as Matt Nagy does, then there's no way that he's calling past concepts that are just so atrocious that there's not anywhere to go with the ball after 5 whole seconds in the play, and then taking a sack by Myles Garrett is just poor play on Fields' part.
I do agree that he held onto the ball too long at points, but it has to fall onto coaching because of the lack of preparation Justin Fields had for that game, and also the unwillingness to adapt and add in extra blockers when it was obviously needed. Going through and watching that game again, I only saw Nagy block an extra tight end probably 2 times. And I don't think I saw it until the end of the third quarter is when he finally decided to throw in extra protection for Fields. It just seems like he set Fields up for failure in this game. I just don't, the play calling, I mean, Fields threw for less than 50 yards, so I can't really say anything about the play calling there because I really didn't get to see it. But just the unwillingness to adapt and help your quarterback, that's what killed me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I'm very excited about the Bears now after that performance. But they went up against one of the teams that we still think is a top dog in the NFL, so maybe we shouldn't put too much stock into it. I'm still just I don't know. Matt Nagy, honestly, is one of the most polarizing coaches for me on a week-to-week basis of I feel so differently about him each week, and I'm trying not to overly just be overly picky or overly optimistic about him. And like I said, I just don't know if you have 5 seconds when you drop back to pass. You don't get sacked for 5 seconds. Do you need to block an extra guy then? Because He's got 5 seconds. I think a lot of quarterbacks would be very happy with that amount of time with a five-man pass protection. That's like amazing. But he just wasn't letting the ball rip. I don't know if he's scared. He doesn't think guys have enough separation or what. But I don't know. Maybe we underestimate the fact that they don't have good enough receivers, and we overrate some of the guys on their team. But I don't think so. I think they've got at least two guys that I'd say are pretty quality. And usually, if you got two quality guys, then other guys can at least be half decent to get open. But maybe not.
Yeah, I think another thing too is we might have just overvalued or overpraised Justin Fields' ability to start day one. Or I mean, I feel like we've just talked him up so much during the offseason that it seems like crazy in our minds that like he's gonna have lumps like that and have to learn and work through like on the job. So I mean, hopefully this doesn't carry over for him and he figures it out like, hey, if I'm going against defensive fronts like that or just any defensive front in the NFL now, this isn't like Ohio State where I can just hang back here and have all day to throw the ball.
I mean, to be fair, the best QB of the top 5 quarterbacks drafted so far has been the one that has touched the field the least.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like even if you are high on anybody at this point, you can really brag much about it. And I'd still take Fields over a few other guys that we also talked about, honestly, because I still think he's an insane talent and has made throws that literally I haven't seen any other people make. So it's pretty hard for me to not still be interested in what he can do, but obviously going to need to be better in the future. Next game, Colts at Titans. Dang it, I didn't get this one. I didn't get this one right.
Yeah, I don't think having the Colts as your dog in the fight is really going to result in a lot of wins now. The Colts do not look good. And again, they were going against the Titans, and the Titans are one of the top dogs in the AFC, but they also didn't have A.J. Brown, so it's like their only offensive weapons were Julio and Derrick Henry.
And Tannehill, GOAT.
Yeah. Well, yeah, who's getting the ball to those guys? So
who's keeping the ball for himself because he's selfish, you mean?
Yeah. But they had three guys to worry about on offense. And it just really was tough to watch. And the Colts are probably regretting trading that first round pick for Carson Wentz right about now.
I mean, I don't. Well. We still have to get through the whole season to know where that pick is going to land. But with that being said, Tennessee only put up 25. Tennessee's one of like the scariest offenses in the league does. I don't know. I don't think that's a bad performance from the Colts defense. It's kind of like I'd say that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I'd feel like 28's really the mark I'd be shooting for if I was going up against Tennessee on any random week. Obviously, you said they lost A.J. Brown early in this game, but I mean, I don't know. The result isn't shocking to me. I told you, I just picked the Colts because usually when I'm lowest on the Colts, they show me up and say, hey, we're still kicking around. But hey, I mean, we thought of it before the season where it's like, geez, these guys really got it tough early, and they've got a lot of new pieces at important positions. I guess maybe not a lot, but I mean, a big addition at a big question mark at the most important position, and then just a lot of decent talent everywhere else around him, and just didn't know how well it would be able to mix immediately, and it hasn't mixed well enough to beat the solid teams that they've had at the start of their schedule. They're gonna get Miami next week, so I mean that game of the year potentially, but I don't know. I guess this game really went how I thought it would go, even though I picked the Colts just because I was feeling low on them.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my gripe was more with their offense, and that purely comes down to Carson Wentz. And also just the lack of production in the run game, too, from Jonathan Taylor, which is surprising. And now they're shipping out Marlon Mack, Naeem Hines seems to be like the number one guy in the backfield for him now. That's just a weird group that, I mean, going into the season, I thought we kind of had it pinned down, at least how it would operate. I mean, Marlon Mack was always going to be the odd man out, but now he's going to be gone. So
Why? What? Why did he re-sign there? Why did they offer him a contract to sign back there? Why do you want to trade him after 3 weeks into the season? What changed? Literally none of those three decisions make sense. And I mean, that's half the reason where there's a lot of smart football people out there that talk about football for a living that say, "Oh, we love how the Colts build their team." Yeah, no, I can't agree with that nearly as much as you think I would, because I don't understand decisions like what they've done with Marlon Mack. It makes absolutely no sense.
I feel like someone made a promise that they couldn't keep to him, and that's why they've just mutually agreed to seek a trade for him. Because to get him to re-sign, especially in that situation, they had to have said that he'll be getting like carries throughout the season, and then to have him inactive last week, yeah. So someone made a promise that they couldn't keep, I bet.
Yeah. Saints at Patriots.
Quite a shocker. Jameis, man, he's an anomaly. He's a football freak. I never know what I'm going to get with the guy, and I love him for that. Belichick's defense, I mean, there's nothing you could do against someone that's as strange as Jameis Winston. But Mac Jones also didn't look as clean as he has been, or I should say, as he did against the Jets, which I mean, he's the only rookie QB to get a win. But yeah, the Saints, I mean, after last week, I was kind of like, down on them, thinking like, yeah, same old Jameis. But I mean, yeah, they might actually be able to win game like consistently, or if it's every other week, just hope that the bye week comes and the math works out so you finish like 9-8.
Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm gonna say this when we get to the Bucs. Yeah, this was an important game for the Patriots. Yeah, it was an important game for the Bucs. I'll just say it now. They're not worried about this game. They weren't worried about this week at all. They've been game planning ahead. They're game planning ahead. They're not paying attention to the Saints. The Saints got to go there and win that game because there's no way that the coaches were able to focus this week, knowing what was coming the following week. And I think it's reasonable. I think they could still win enough games to make the playoffs, even if they drop this game to the Saints. And I think the same thing about the Bucs, obviously. So I just think it's because all eyes will be on next week. But I do think that this, just based off how it started, I don't know if it'll literally be a week-to-week thing, but I'd expect the Jameis Winston roller coaster to continue for New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I would say that looking ahead, that'd probably be the Patriots, but at the same time, that doesn't seem like the Patriot way. I don't think Brady is probably looking ahead to next week, but the Rams, that's their actual competition to get to the Super Bowl. I understand Brady wants revenge and all that. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the Patriot way. Doesn't seem like a consummate professional like Tom Brady would get stuck looking ahead at a team that whose only win has been against the Jets and not looking at the team that might give him a run to win another Lombardi.
No matter how robotic Bill Belichick tries to act, he's actually a human being, just like every
I agree.
other person.
The Patriots were the ones looking ahead. I don't think Brady was, though.
Brady is a human as well. They're humans. There's absolutely no way that was not on their mind. I mean, it was probably on their mind before the season even started. And they put this one early in the season, probably for a good reason. I mean, Sunday night games, like we've talked about before, and I mean, not really on here, but just like, it's kind of, if you've watched two like games prior to that have been like long, close games, it's like, and you just like had a long week or something, man, it's kind of tough to get through that last game sometimes. But I feel like I'll be fully invested into this one as long as it's close for any amount of time at all. But I mean, there's definitely a reason that this happened. Maybe I should go back and check it, but I'm also not worried about Mac Jones either. I don't think that the Patriots are going to be looking to throw the ball a ton next week. I think they're obviously going to be trying to run it a pretty decent amount, but I wouldn't worry too much about Mac Jones, even because like you've said, he's still the best of the starting QBs, so the starting rookie quarterback. So I'm still at least somewhat correct about him.
Yeah, well, he is the only rookie QB to have played the Jets so far. So
great point. Falcons at Giants. Come on.
Yeah, this game went how I thought it was gonna go. Both teams. It came down to what team was incompetent the least. That was the Falcons, surprisingly. You could have flipped a coin for this game, because it came down to what team was going to be less stupid than the other. And Joe Judge, special teams guy, punting it from the opposite 39 on 4th and 2. Stupid. Fire him. Him and Matt Nagy have got me fired up. Like, if it was another head coach, sure, you're stupid for doing. Joe Judge is a special teams guy. He should know in that situation that you go for it.
Well, Jake, I don't know if you have a good argument here, because Graham Gano looked like one of the best kickers in the league last week. So why is he even going for it if he can kick a field goal from 56 yards out? I don't know what the wind was like. I'm guessing it wasn't that crazy though at MetLife in September.
Hunting, like, it just drives me wild, man. Seeing that, and that's the one thing Joe Judge brings to the table. It's like, oh, he's a leader of men and he knows his special teams, and that's like an important third of the game, and he's getting that situation wrong. It irks me.
No, I know that's not a great decision. I haven't seen the situation exactly that you're talking about, but just judging based off what you said, I would definitely say I would agree with that. I can't believe that the Giants, I just love, once again, going back to the concept of why we watch the NFL. How can the Giants offense go up against a team like Washington's defense and put nearly 30 on the board on the road, and then be at home, play against the Atlanta Falcons defense, which has been one of the worst over the past 2.5 years as any defense in the history of the NFL, and put up 14 points? That is, I just didn't think it was possible. That's why I locked him this week. I didn't think Atlanta's offense hasn't looked good, and 17 points is maybe what I would have thought the Falcons could get to against the Giants. How did the Giants only put 14 on the board? This is tanking the stock of the Giants. I don't feel like I've killed a lot of, just ripped into a lot of teams this year. I'm saying this is one of the worst losses of the early season we've seen. And that's already not being high on the Giants. It's just thinking that they could show some level of competency. They look like one of the worst teams in the league after that.
Yeah. And Atlanta won it off a game-winning field goal too. Like that game was as ugly as it could be, where it's just like, yep, it's so gross.
Awful. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. We both, I like this. This is a good one because we both actually picked the underdog and we both actually got it right, correct?
Yeah, we did. I'm still sitting pretty in where I think Pittsburgh's only going to win 3 games. And if their 3 wins come against Buffalo and then they split with Baltimore and Cleveland, I will laugh so hard if that's their 3 wins. But yeah, that Pittsburgh team looks terrible. And that offense is being ran purely through Najee Harris, because Big Ben is already falling apart 3 games into the season.
Yeah.
He looks bad.
It's as bad as it could. I mean, it was our worst fear realized, and they got it 1 week after they played the Bills. Big Ben broke down 1 week after he played the Bills. Had he broken down week 1, we probably could have pulled that game off, along with maybe the fact that we didn't have the special teams blunder, which was absolutely atrocious, and the Steelers would be at 0-3 instead of the 3-0 they were sitting at last year at this time. But with that being said, credit to the Bengals. Had a decent game on the road. Their defense did their job. I mean, 10 points is still a really low number no matter who you're playing, so that's a good mark. And then, Joe Burrow just actually did his job this week and didn't turn the ball over, which is the most important thing to do against the Steelers. If you don't turn the ball over against this team, considering they have a quality defense, that's kind of difficult. But if you don't turn the ball over against Pittsburgh, no matter what team you are, you're going to have a pretty good chance to win.
Yeah, Joe Burrow had one of the prettiest throws of the season when he hit Jamar Chase in the middle of the field with a deep safe, or the two safeties were back there, and the corner was right behind him, and he hit him right in the middle of that triangle, and it was such a beautiful pass.
Glad to hear it, and glad that Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are cooking. I feel like we're just going to keep reiterating the same points about the Steelers each week. Bengals, I mean, like I said, those two guys have really been the keys for them. So I don't have much else to say on that game. You ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, Zach Taylor. He looks like a not the worst coach in the NFL. Surprisingly,
I saw a video of Zach Taylor this week. So I mean, maybe eventually I'll remember what he looks like. But still not quite. But like maybe eventually.
He could walk in my dorm room right now, and I'd tell him to get lost because I don't know who he is.
How about this one? This one was the biggest surprise of the week, and probably overshadowed by its ending. But what happened in Detroit? I mean, I guess we should just get it out of the way and say that Justin Tucker is definitely the best kicker in the NFL history, if there was any doubt about that before. But then on top of that, he's also insane. Just every time he goes to Detroit, he's just playing out of his mind too for some reason. But why are the Lions in this game with the Ravens?
There were some missed calls. I know that was part of it, and that's kind of the reason why the Ravens were able to get that field goal off, is because of a missed call. But I'm not going to harp on that because that's what happened. Can't really change that now. But yeah, Dan Campbell's teams have been being competitive 3 straight weeks with teams that can realistically be in their conference championship game.
It's really weird.
I don't know how he's doing it.
But yet, I still don't love what's happening. Like he's got man. It's like he's got these. Here we go. Here's the comparison. It's like he's got the most well-trained steeds in the land, like carrying his horse and buggy. But instead of horses, they're donkeys, and it's just like, okay, they listen really well. It's just like, we don't actually have any quality with this. Yeah. They follow instructions really well, though, and they really like me.
Yeah. They can listen really well. I don't know if they'll be able to get me where I'm going, though. Yeah, I think that's a really good comparison, because his teams, they've been in every game that they've played at one point. I don't know how he's pulling it, and I still don't like the Lions to really win a decent amount of games. But if they could play every game close like this next season, after a full season with Dan Campbell, Rodgers gone, they might be able to compete for the NFC North.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the fact of how the Bears have looked recently, and how I picked the Lions to beat the Bears on Thanksgiving for the season show in advance of the season. Like the Lions may sweep the Bears, or so, really, it's just weird to see where we're at. But yeah, no, I don't even know what's more important, just wanting to play for your coach or actually having a good coach. It's really crazy that those two things can, because I'm not ready to say that Dan Campbell is a great NFL coach, but geez, if he could just get his players to want to play for him, maybe it's out of fear even, but who knows what they're motivated by. But geez, something's working because I did not expect Baltimore to have to kick a game-winning field goal on the last play of the game against Detroit this week. And I just thought the Ravens would be able to run all over them, and they really didn't at all. I don't even think I saw a highlight in terms of them running the ball. So that's pretty good stuff in terms of the Lions stock. Anything else on that one?
Justin Tucker won AFC Offensive Player of the Week. I don't think he deserved it because he missed a field goal.
That's no AFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
Special Teams Player of the Week, yeah.
But
he doesn't deserve it because he missed a field goal.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, how did you miss a kick this week? I was like, you really put on that performance and missed one kick just to make this thing a mess. That's so disappointing. But yeah. Next game, I'm sure we'll have a lot to say on this one. Jets Broncos.
Yeah, as Juju Smith-Schuster said about the Browns, the Jets is the Jets. I don't know how much deep analysis I can go into this. Denver's defense is really good, and having Zach Wilson with no offensive line go against that kind of front, with Von Miller at the helm, with a bunch of other studs with him, yeah, it's going to be tough sledding for a guy that's had tough sledding all season. And then Teddy Bridgewater, dude, I mean, we might have to give out a matriculating award at the end of the season because that dude is just dunking and diving all the way everywhere downfield. And, I mean, they lose KJ Hamler, which is tough. But they bring in David Moore to replace him. And, like, I love that. Yeah, I don't really have much deep analysis to go into this. The Broncos are the better team, and I don't see the Jets winning many games.
I could not believe it when I saw that David Moore actually signed with the team that we said has like probably the most underrated depth receiving corps in the NFL. It's just like, really? They needed that? I was like, okay, and they're sitting at 3-0, so they're really in a good spot. Yeah, no. Broncos continue to beat up on bad teams. They did their job, but geez, 0 points. That's really impressive. Shutouts are always crazy. And the Jets...
Caden Stearns, baby. Caden Stearns, one of my favorite safeties.
Yeah. And the Jets, on the other hand, we were worried about Zach Wilson to start the season. I guess we were right to worry. And where has Elijah Moore been? I thought I was already proven wrong when training camp started, but
yeah, I think teams, and I said this, and a bunch of Jets fans were in the comments telling me that I was stupid. I said that teams are just going to triple team Corey Davis because he's the only guy that Zach Wilson can throw to. That's exactly what the Broncos did. They were doubling and tripling him all game.
Yeah.
It hurts how how much we were right about the Jets to start the season.
Yeah,
it hurts.
No, I just, man, it's gonna be interesting to see where they go from here because they're not looking like they're headed anywhere pretty. On the other hand, we will talk about the Dolphins in 1 second. But yeah, it just. AFC East opponents in general. As Bills fans, since we talked about the Bills in the other video, really quick to mention this. Feeling pretty good right now about our chances in the division.
Yeah.
Considering the only team that really looked too great in our division the other day was the team that we just beat 35-0. So I don't know how much we should put on that. But Raiders Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I said this going into this game that with Jacoby Brissett, they have a better chance to win. I think if Tua is the starting QB for this game, they don't even have a chance to win it. Jacoby Brissett took that game to OT. I hate the Wildcat play that they ran 2 times in a row to try to send it to OT, and then they finally put the ball in the hands of Jacoby Brissett to score that touchdown and get the 2-point conversion. But you got to score a touchdown in OT. That's the thing. And the Raiders, they've looked really good. They've looked really good. I am shocked because I thought the Raiders were going to be hot garbage this season. But I think that just goes into another thing too of with Dan Campbell, John Gruden, the players want to play for him, so they're doing good. And the Raiders are like the exact opposite of the Broncos. All of their games have been like against good teams. And
That's really what I want to get back to, though. How good are these good teams that they've been playing? Let's talk about this for a second. The good team they played week 1 had some of the worst injury luck in the history of the league in like a single week leading up to a game, let alone it being the opening game of the season. The second team they lost to, all these teams, 10-plus win teams last season also, which everybody seems to think needs to be a huge point in what they talk about.
I shouldn't have said good teams because it was the Steelers. That the Steelers are not a good team.
This is the second one. The Steelers, who, were the worst 11-0 team in NFL history, almost undisputed last season, and seemingly have no offense at all if you can outscore them. And then the Dolphins is the last team they play, who the previous week before this lost 35-0. Are we really saying that even though they played 3 teams from last season that were 10-plus win teams last season, that you're going to be able to say guaranteed, yes, that's 3 wins versus 3 solid teams this year? Because I really don't think it's the case. Because I think 2 of those teams are going to have losing records at the end of this season. And I think one of those teams was in the worst possible situation they're going to be in of the entire season for that roster.
Yeah, I think... What do I think? I think that it's the same thing with the Dan Campbell situation, except this team's pulling out the wins. I think it's like kind of the opposite too. They're not the most well-trained donkeys in the land, but they're horses. They can get you to the end.
They've got names. They do have names. They got a Darren Waller. They got a Josh Jacobs. They got a Derek Carr. They got the pieces that are recognizable now.
Yeah.
Now, like you got the high draft pick receiver and Ruggs. I mean, they got flashy toys all over the place, and it's like okay, you get these things working together, and you got something. I just don't want to put too much stock into it. I think there's we've got 3 teams right now that are sitting at least. I may be forgetting some people. I have to add. We got 3 teams right now that are sitting at 3-0 that I think are 3 of the softest 3-0 teams we've really ever seen. Maybe minus Pittsburgh last season. Just to throw another shot at Pittsburgh since we haven't done it enough. But Carolina, Vegas, and Denver.
And the Rams.
They'll be that's exactly that's what I was saying.
That's why I excluded them. That's why I excluded them.
No. I didn't forget about the Rams. I'm saying that I believe in the Rams.
Oh.
I'm saying that these 3 teams I still have to question stuff with. I think by the end of the season, one of those 3, just because, starting 3-0, it's pretty hard not to continue with at least some like mid-level success. If you go 500 after starting 3-0, you have 14 games left, 7-7. You're going to go 10-7, potentially make the playoffs. So I think one of these teams has to still end up in a good spot at the end of the season. But I really wouldn't be shocked if 2 of these teams were still able to drop off after getting some tougher competition. But really, the Raiders, with what we just talked about, playing these teams that were quote-unquote good last season, means they should be playing the quote-unquote bad teams from last season now for most of the rest of their schedule, which may make them the favorite out of those 3 teams to really look good, even if I'm not ready to raise their stock as much as some other people may.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Just, they're a weird team, man. They're a weird team.
Absolutely. Now, since you just talked about the Rams, Bucs Rams.
Yeah. You believe in the Rams. Yeah, you pick the Buccaneers for this game. Yeah.
You convinced me. Your reverse psychology got me.
Yep, I needed to pick up an extra win, so I had to get you to pick against me. Rams in the upset. I mean, I disagree with you the whole looking forward thing, but I mean, just for the sake of me saying why I picked the Rams to win this one, it just wasn't me going like, I need another upset. Yeah, I knew Brady was looking ahead to the Patriots, and I knew the Rams would take advantage of that. Um, Matt Stafford looks great with Sean McVay coaching him up, and it is so much fun to see him thrive in LA. Deshaun Jackson with his 75-year-old bones still out there burning guys and scoring touchdowns. Love it. And I mean, Cooper Kupp, is he going to be Matt Stafford's Megatron? Dude is out here just balling. Like he's making plays, not the same way Calvin did, but like if he can have 200-yard games like Calvin, yeah, I like that comparison.
It, who did the Rams play week 2?
Uh,
Because it was Chicago week 1, Tampa Bay week 2, and I'm blanking. I'm trying to talk about something
man.
here, but I'm just forgetting for some reason. I'm sorry.
They played the Colts. They played the Colts.
Yes, and that was the game that was, like I said, kind of surprisingly close.
Mhm.
That's why we shouldn't completely forget what happens on a week-to-week basis because, just said down on the Colts after the Tennessee performance, but I mean, they just played probably the best team in the league pretty well. So, I mean, it's worth pointing that out. With that being said, I've just been surprised that even though this team has relatively lit it up on the scoreboard, I've been kind of sad that they haven't even been able to put 40 on the board yet. I honestly, like, looking at this team preseason, I thought they would be able to do that. And that's not really a knock on them because even still, like, this offense is, like, basically loaded. But the thing is, the defense is as well. So even if the offense is only scoring, like, 30 points, the defense can hold up. They'll be fine. I just actually think I'm surprised in terms of saying that this team is maybe just slightly underperforming my expectations, but all 3 of those teams they played do have relatively good defenses, speaking on that. So I'm just interested. I'm going to be interested to see what happens when they play a team that, maybe isn't as talented on the defensive side of the ball to see if they can finally surpass that 40-point mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As for the Bucs, really didn't. I watched the highlights to this game. I don't know. I don't know what to actually say about why the game played out the way it did. But for storyline's sake, the easiest thing to say is, like I said earlier, that they were looking ahead to the Patriots, and I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm hoping that. I'm hoping that Sunday night is literally like a game of the century.
And the one complaint that I have with the Buccaneers is I understand playing for pride, but getting Gio Bernard hurt there on that stupid last touchdown to make the game look a little closer, and he is arguably the best running back on that team. I just don't like that, especially going into potentially the game of the century.
Not really though, because it's actually Patriots Chargers week 7. I think it is.
Yes.
It's the actual game of the year for us.
That's our game of the year.
That's our game of the year. And it's looking scary in terms of who's going to win that from my perspective. So I'm probably going to lock up the Patriots when we get to week 7, just to make sure that there's no way they win. But yeah, I guess that moves us to the next game. Seahawks at Vikings.
Yeah, I picked Seattle to win this one. Didn't go the way I thought it would. Kirk Cousins, he played exactly how he's played in the past 2 games this season. And that's good enough to beat teams that either cannot match him or match that Vikings offense, which Seattle can. But Seattle's defense is probably the weakest unit they've played against all season. And him just chewing up clock and going down the field and scoring and then leaving them with very little time to match him because they can. And then also that leads to Russ having to do too much. And as everyone knows, when Mr. Unlimited has to do too much, that's when he crumbles and does not perform as well as he usually can. I mean, that was seen in games all last season when it's like, all right, this game is fully on Russ now to do it because no one else on the team can do anything. And he would just kind of like shrivel up because of it. And that's kind of what happened in this game. Tyler Lockett could have had a great catch, didn't. Yeah. Vikings win it. I still don't think that they're that great of a team, though, because I don't think Seattle's that great of a team.
I'm going to be very interested in seeing how these teams continue to do, because yes, I do think that both of these teams have been teams that we've kind of been all over the place on. Maybe not you changing it up with Seattle as much as me, because they're really different in different ways. Us just basically disagreeing about the talent level of Minnesota, and then just Seattle just constantly being like, are they good? Are they bad? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they in the middle? Are they good? Are they great? Like, are they terrible? Like, they're just all over the place. So I mean, continuing to see what they did, but I have to say, 4 o'clock window, didn't watch most of it. I watched the opening drive to this game and could not believe how easily Seattle moved down the field, scored a touchdown on their opening drive, and then when I came back to the game at the end of the game and saw the score was 30-17, I was like, okay, that makes sense that Seattle put up 30 points after seeing what they did in the opening drive. And then I was like, wait, Seattle put up 17. They put up 10 the rest of the game. What happened? How did this switch up so much? I really don't know how Minnesota controlled the game so well. I did pick the Vikings to win this, like I said, because I didn't think that there was any way that they could drop a third game in a row in some ridiculous fashion again. And I still think they're pretty talented at home, but I wasn't expecting them to win by 13, especially not after I saw the opening drive of the game.
Yeah. No, I applaud Kirk Cousins. He looked really good in this game.
Packers at Niners. This one was a good one.
Yeah, never, ever, ever leave Aaron Rodgers time on the clock. I don't know how many times people need to learn this. It's a meme at this point of just fans taking a selfie and then captioning it like, they still 38 seconds on the clock. They don't know. I don't know why they're cheering. Because it's just what he does. Hit some great throws, Rodgers did. I do like the whole meme of like TJ Lang was tweeting that whole game. It's just like, yeah, he doesn't look like he cares or whatever, and then like posting a video of him jumping up and down and cheering on. And it was like, oh, people weren't getting that he was being sarcastic. It's like, oh yeah, he really doesn't care. Then TJ Lang said like, if he really cared, he would have had more than one catch because he had that ball that was batted back to him that he caught. It's like, he should have caught another ball if he really cared.
Yeah.
Rodgers, I mean, he's dealing now. He's not just only throwing to the guys he wants to, because maybe he realized that that's not an efficient way to win. Maybe just when they play against the Lions and the Bears, he'll just only throw it to the guys he wants to. He'll pick out the games against the crappier opponents to do that. Maybe that's why they lost against the Saints team, because he underestimated the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed, with what he was able to do against this Niners defense, but absolutely my main takeaway from this game was, if you're huge check, I'm probably not thinking from the 13-yard line that as a coach, I need to tell my players to get down quite yet, because I don't think that we're going to, especially if we're going to an angle route out of the backfield, I don't think that we're going to pick up 13 for a touchdown on the play. But yeah, I mean, I want to call that out as a bad coaching decision, but at the same time, it's like, man, Shanahan was trying to take the time off the clock before that, and it's just like he's so far out from the end zone still. I don't think he would have even thought to say into the headset yet, okay, get down before you guys get into the end zone, because he probably didn't think that they were going to score on that play, and then he was going to run 20 more seconds off the clock at least. So I don't want to blame him too much for it, but if Aaron Rodgers is on the opposite side of the field, you cannot be scoring with anything less than, or rather, anything more than, say, 8 seconds left, because that's the only way he's only going to have one play.
Yeah, I'm not going to hate on Shanahan too much for that, because you kind of expect the Harvard grad to know to get down there. I'm joking, by the way. He's a fullback. He's dumb. Come on.
Yeah.
Uh,
All those guys are dumb.
yeah. Every fullback ever at any level of football is dumb.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, but you need to get down there. And when he didn't, like as soon as that play happened, I was like, oh, he's gonna go down. He's not gonna go down. Aaron Rodgers is gonna score here. He's going to score. Um, but yeah, as a coach, you aren't like telling your guys to go down at that point.
I mean, it
Probably after that play, if it's completion, you tell them to. But
I mean, it was the same thing. I mean, this happens a lot with Rodgers, but just as like a Bills fan last year, like I was not excited when Stephon Diggs scored against the Cardinals with 35 seconds left. Like I wasn't, because I was just like, why did we score with that much time left? I was like, we can end this game. We've moved the ball the entire game. We can end this game if we just get a little more time off the clock. And then they scored a Hail Mary against us. And that was like, thank you, football, for existing. But, you know, man, I'm going to be interested to see what happens when eventually, because this hasn't happened yet. It's gonna, soon enough, it's gonna have to be the adopted principle that you do not, if you like are inside the red zone or something like that, and you can take the clock all the way down to sub like 20 seconds, really, if you score with any time more than 20 seconds left, you're going to be looked down upon and probably lose games because of it, because that's basically how it goes in the modern NFL with quarterbacks we have. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the reaction is the first time that team purposely slows itself down and doesn't score the touchdown they need to even take the lead. Because if there's a team that I could see doing that, like, you know, that 1-3-0 team that that we talked about earlier, the Las Vegas Raiders definitely just seem like a prime candidate to try to be chewing up the clock at the end of the game and being like, yeah, we can score, and then screw it up to not even get the points on the board, go down early or something like that. Sorry for picking out a team to pick on, but it's going to be really interesting to see how the public reacts, because that is eventually going to happen. Yeah, but I think that would have been the right way to go in this game as well. It's just, can't blame it too much on coaching, because they were so far out from the end zone, they probably didn't expect to score on that play. Eagles, Cowboys. Tell me all the interesting things you have to say about this game.
I'm really glad Jalen Hurts decided the game that I picked the Eagles to win in a major upset. He was going to play the worst football of his career. That's great. Your guy. You're the head coach, bro. His name's leaving me.
Nick
right
Sirianni.
now. Nick Sirianni. How does he only call 2 plays for Miles Sanders? How does he do that?
I don't know. They really like. I didn't. I told you. I've been with family recently, so I didn't watch this game, but they really like Kenneth Gainwell from what I saw in week 1 and week 2. I don't know why. I really can't give you a reason why, but they do for some reason, and he's been getting significant snaps. I don't know why Miles Sanders is being held out like he's bad, because this has been something we were talking about all offseason. It was like, oh, I like Miles Sanders in the run game for the Eagles. Oh, the Eagles signed 40 running backs that are going there so Miles Sanders doesn't play. And then
your Kenneth Gainwell argument doesn't mean anything, because I wanted to just make sure he had 1 carry. They ran the ball to running backs 3 times that game.
Oh, they just ran the ball like never. They just didn't run the ball at all. Okay.
They did not run the ball the whole game.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts had 9 carries, Miles Sanders 2, Kenneth Gainwell 1.
That's okay. I mean, the thing with Kenneth Gainwell is really just the fact of how many snaps he was getting in the first 2 weeks of the season. That's where I was really surprised. I don't know how many touches they got in the receiving game, but this Eagles running back thing, like I was saying, has still been very strange to me, because like early in the offseason, I was like, I really like Miles Sanders for this upcoming season, and then they signed a bunch of running backs, and I was like, okay, I guess they don't like Miles Sanders, and then they kind of redacted that by saying, oh no, we cut all those running backs we signed, because they literally cut all of them, except for the rookie they got like late in the draft. And now it seems like they're still trying to give carries to the rookie more than the guy who's been on the team and had at least an efficient career up to this point. So I don't know. I can't really explain it.
Yeah. Miles Sanders, 2 rushes. Kenneth Gainwell, 1. They both had 3 receptions. And there were very few. I think I saw 2 designed runs for Jalen Hurts. So I don't know why. Like, I understand the Cowboys have a weak secondary, but you have a weak receiving core. So I don't understand why you just go air raid against the Cowboys.
I couldn't tell you. I'd have to look back at it. Final score is basically what I expected, though, without even watching the game.
Yeah. I think that's the last time I picked the Eagles as an upset in prime time.
So we didn't do it at the beginning of the episode. After this week, what have you got for your record throughout the season?
I am 30-18 on the season.
Yeah, keeping it pretty tight here. 29-19. What was your record this week?
My record this week was 10-6.
Okay, I was 10-6 this week as well. Upsets?
Upsets, I got my upset. But overall I'm 2-1.
2-1 for the week in the upsets. And
Oh wait, no. Sorry. I was thinking of locks. Upsets for the week, I was 2-2 for my upsets.
Okay. And you were 1-0 in the locks. I know that because I locked up against you, so I'm 0-3 in the locks. And you're what, 2-1 in the locks?
2-1, okay. 2-1 in my locks.
Stay tuned for the next episode of the show because I will be able to tell you a guaranteed team that will lose over the weekend. Even though I will be saying that I'm guaranteeing they will win, I will be able to tell you a team that's going to lose. And I already know who I'm picking for it. But it's exciting. If this happens a 4th week in a row where I'm literally like trying to pick a team, one of the teams, I don't want to pick, like we said before, don't want to pick teams where it's just like, okay, we think this team has like a significant advantage over this team. We want to pick games where we think, like generally we think the game will be close, but we still think that this team should be the winner in the end. Like we have personal feelings to say, yeah, we have confidence in this team.
Yeah, because could you imagine locking up Kansas City for a game? Who could ever do that? That'd be wild if someone did that.
Well, listen, I did that against Baltimore. I thought that was reasonable, and guess what? I got slapped in the behind for it. So I don't know what to say. You're right. Maybe that's why. Maybe you're just not allowed to lock up any competent teams ever. But yeah, I'm all set. Are you?
Yeah, I think we can cut this here.